figure out is how he filled his audience with black people one day. Like, where did he find that many black Tea Partiers in New York City? They had to be actors. He had to have. I did, because it was one of his shows about how slavery and all his there's another Barton show with him and all the revisionism about slavery. I mean, a few more of those shows, and people are going to think like slavery never happened. But somehow he managed to like fill his studio audience with black people. I'm like, where did he get these people? Like he had to have hired them or bust them in from somewhere.
Well, I was at this site. Somebody had sent me, and I'm going to write an article about this. This was somebody who claimed to be a libertarian, picked little pieces here and there from Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, who was an atheist. And then this person had, you could tell it was all this copy and paste stuff from Barton. Right. And this libertarian, and I say that in quotes, was arguing for what he or she called a libertarian theocracy, where the and
now is
like
that not kind of an oxymoron?
I was reading this and I was going, what world am I living in? And people look at that and they go, oh, well, it looks real official and scholarly, and so they just buy into it without, and that's what I admire so much about you, Chris, is that you've actually gone through all of this turgid stuff that he puts out, and
well, it's the footnotes, because and any time like the reason I had to shut down my comments on some of my videos on the YouTube channel after one of my videos got linked to a Barton tour of the Capitol video. So all of a sudden, my video has 70,000 hits. I'm getting messages from YouTube. Do you want revenue sharing on your popular video? But anyway, but then in all the comments, well, first there's the ones telling me I'm ugly and unhappy, hated my parents, and I need to find Jesus. All those comments, and then.
And Gene, didn't even see you when you had your, the medical tape holding your glasses together.
Oh, no, this is after that. I actually had new glasses by then. I actually did for a while when I was really, really broke after I finished writing my book and Talk to Action. Actually held a fundraiser for me because my power was getting turned off, and Bruce Wilson, who I mentioned before, put up a thing on the, please send money to Chris to get her power turned back on so she can keep writing. And he goes, and then he puts this photo of me up, and he goes, well, you can't really tell in the photo, but Chris's glasses are crazy glued together, because Bruce had been down here that summer before I was around that time doing research, so he knew that my glasses were actually crazy glued together. So, it has gotten that bad. We are, the other side definitely is in a better financial position than us, but at least I can sleep at night. I'm not lying to people, but I can't even remember what the original question was we were talking about here.
Really, I'm going to interject at this point. That's another reason to donate to MRF so that Chris can get a raise there. I mean, you guys work tirelessly with this type of thing at militaryreligiousfreedom.org, and it's not like you're getting a lot of money for doing it, and yet you're helping so many people. It really is important. I think even if it's $5-10, help these folks out.
Yeah, it's not like we need people to come up with $50, $100, $500 donations. I have a person who donates $5 a month to me from South Carolina, named Cricket, that it means more to me than anything, because you know what? I truly put that towards getting an ink cartridge every month, and it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a little bit.
And what people do is our brick in the wall
thing,
or the brick in the wall, which Deborah mentioned earlier, that we have this thing. I think it's, what is it, Leah? $20 is the minimum. That you can buy a brick in the wall. Just go to our website. You'll find it. It's on there.
And the wall is
and it's the rebuild the wall. And you can put a message. You can put a message on your brick. You can buy a brick, and it's to build the wall. Of course, it's the wall of separation. So buy a brick to help rebuild the wall. And you put a message, whatever you want to say on your brick in the wall. So that's a way people can help. I remember back to before I got all sidetracked about my crazy glasses. I was going to make a point about the footnotes, where before I shut the comments down on my videos, because I had to, and I've had not just the video, but I've seen this elsewhere, where people, they just keep saying, well, Barton's got the original documents. Barton's got all these footnotes and this and that. Well, if that does, as if that means that he can't be lying because he has the document. Like there's one in my video. There's a letter that Barton uses in his presentation that he's also used on Glenn Beck, where he claims that John Adams said that for a government to be legitimate, it must be administered by the Holy Ghost. Now, in that letter, what Adams, there's a video about this on my website too, so I'll just be really brief here, that basically Adams was saying the exact opposite. He was being sarcastic, but Barton, edits the quote. Now, Barton happens to own this original letter. So everyone said, well, I've just got the letter of a transcript. I don't have the original one, so Barton must be right. But this whole thing about the footnotes, and Barton is incessantly talking about, well, my book has 1,700 footnotes. But, you start looking them up, and they don't support what he says. But he knows his readers aren't going to look up his sources.
They're never going to look up.
His work just appears to be scholarly.
No, they just copy and paste it. Isn't Rush Limbaugh still quoting that book that he admitted had errors in it?
The predecessor to his book, now Original Intent, was called The Myth of Separation, and that was the one where he got busted on the fake James Madison quote, and I'm very close to solving the mystery of where that infamous quote actually was twisted from. I am on the verge of discovery. That's been a project of mine for years, because no one's been able to really pin it down, and I'm almost there. So anyway, it's one I keep having to put aside, but I will. I'm like a pit bull when it comes to these things. But anyway, Limbaugh getting busted on that quote when Barton put out his new. First, he put out his list of unconfirmed quotations. That's still on his website. Quotes that he says that he doesn't use anymore, and recommends that his readers not use them. But guess where these quotes showed up? In the National Council on Bible curriculum. And who's on the advisory board of that? David Barton. So does he really want his people not to use these quotes? No. He just put out this thing saying, I've raised my scholarly academic standards. And most recently, just on in the last couple of months, on Beck's show, John Hagee was on with Barton. And Hagee uses one of these quotes, the George Washington, you can't rightly govern the world without the Bible or whatever, right? And then Beck on another show and Barton says nothing. He sits there silent, even though he tells people on his website not to use this quote. Then a few weeks later, after Beck's big rally, he's showing photos, because actually the Huffington Post had a slideshow of the slogans and buttons and stuff that were on the people who attended that rally were wearing, and the Huffington Post, titled it "The Most Ridiculous Things that the Beck people were wearing," whatever they titled it. So Beck shows some of those photos, and he says, "Look at this, ridiculous. Look at that, ridiculous." And then he shows this T-shirt. And it's got that quote on it, the fake quote that Barton advises people not to use, okay? And Beck shows it, a quote from George Washington, ridiculous, and it's a fake quote. And he doesn't even know it.
And the thing is, though, if you really looked at this, well, maybe I have a skewed sense of logic, but it seems to me that the signers of our founding documents, our founding fathers, all of these, when they wrote our Declaration of Independence, when they wrote the Constitution, when they wrote the Bill of Rights, if they intended it to be a Christ-governed thing, they would have said it, because everything else was very clear and very far-sighted.